Hello everyone and welcome back. So today I just wanted to talk about some advice that I can offer for anyone going through any type of, conflict or situations where, there could have been a benefit from being more aware of our communication style, how we listen, how we express emotion, and how it can help us overall in the communication with our interpersonal relationships. So I just wanted to start by just briefly outlining what we're going to be going over, what I'll be talking about briefly today. So the first thing is going to be awareness of our listening, how we listen and how others listen, and then being able to express and accurately perceive emotions and what that means as far as our communication and our nonverbal cues as well, and how that can help us hopefully eliminate conflict and misunderstanding and just benefit our relationships further. So I'd like to first start off by talking about the differences in males versus females and how they tend to listen. So women tend to be more people-oriented listeners, which means that we're seeking to find common ground and really just move the relationship forward in a positive way. Men tend to be more task oriented, which is more of like a hurried approach. And I can definitely say that, for the scenario that I gave, that's definitely true. My husband prefers to receive information in a quick, concise, but also simple and easy to understand way. And part of that does have to do with our language barrier as well. And so something else that can help us when we're communicating with our partners is that we should be able to be aware and observe and analyze what type of listening person our partners, or whether it be friends or romantic relationship in my instance, what type of listeners they are. We should try to avoid only sticking to one way of listening, which typically can be our way of listening, so that we're better able to analyze and give the information to our partner in a way that's going to resonate better with them. Because if we're only sticking to a way that we tend to listen and hear information, it's really not going to sit with our partner. They're not going to understand, and it may lead to just more conflicts in the future. So we should be able to, as we communicate, really identify the type of listening that they might like and be able to adapt and change in the moment. And that's a skill that's really going to allow us to communicate better overall with our relationships. So the next thing I want to talk about is active listening and things that, could have been done better for my scenario, and making sure that there wasn't a misunderstanding or unnecessary conversation or arguments that can sometimes lead to frustration and other negative emotions. So being able to, something that works for me that I'm going to try to do more moving forward, is being able to communicate your understanding back to the person in the moment. So sort of listening in a way that allows us to sort of analyze and comprehend, but also say back to our partner, not only just to signify that we are listening, but just to make sure that we are receiving the information in the way that they're intending. And it's better to do this in the moment. And one of the ways that we can do this better in the moment is by eliminating multitasking. So for my scenario specifically, some of our conversations took place over the phone. So I think whether we tend to think about it consciously or not, if we're on the phone, we're typically doing other things. That's definitely true for myself. So I could be washing the dishes, or folding laundry, or organizing something, doing my nails. I could be doing anything while I'm on the phone. And while it seems innocent and like it's not really distracting us, it really is. So being able to eliminate those distractions and possibly have, serious conversations not over the phone, but rather face to face, is really going to help us get rid of the outside noise, the outside distractions, so that we can really be there and listen and communicate back what we're hearing to make sure it's the best way that they're intending to receive it. So something else I'd like to talk about is just being able to express your emotions. So being able to express your emotions, when talking about specifically like my husband and I, if we're talking about serious topics, I think it's always better to have those conversations face to face, not only to eliminate the outside distractions, as I just mentioned, but also to be able to pick up on more nonverbal communication cues, which can allow us to perceive the information in a better, more thorough way. So if we're talking over the phone, we're not able, our partner could be saying one thing, but their facial expression could be saying another thing. So if they're speaking something that's a positive affirmation to what you've asked or what you've talked about, their facial expression could be saying otherwise. And the facial expression could be a more accurate depiction of how they're actually feeling. So being able to see the person and really pick up on their facial expressions, their tone, their body language, things like that, is really going to help us make sure that we're understanding correctly and hopefully eliminate conflict as well. Another strategy that works is the Jefferson strategy, which is just to count to 10 or up to 100 as well. Just to be able to give us that moment to sort of, if we're feeling any negative emotions, sort of calm down, really try to understand the person's perspective and make sure that we're perceiving it in a way that's positive and that can benefit the situation rather than escalate it. And then lastly, I just want to reinforce the things that we just talked about by sharing briefly that there was a study done in romantic relationships that did show a direct correlation to being able to recognize your person's negative facial expressions and how that relates to an overall higher satisfaction in romantic relationships. Because you're able to acknowledge, listen, perceive, and, if there's a misunderstanding, resolve in real time, rather than sort of letting it harbor. If your partner wasn't able to see your expressions, letting those negative emotions sort of harbor and, build up resentment. We just want to make sure that we can accurately, analyze and resolve everything in the moment as it's happening. It's just going to lead to better communication overall. So just to wrap up what we talked about, to eliminate conflict in our relationships or understanding in our communication, misunderstandings rather, just to make sure that we are aware of how our partner's intended listening is going to benefit them best, as well as just making sure that we can adapt to different listening styles, and being able to express and accurately perceive emotions via face-to-face communication and the nonverbal cues that can help us with that. Thank you.